Have you ever tried to rest, but it felt like everything still had access to you? Your phone was nearby, messages could still come in, your mind was still checking the to-do list, someone could still need something. Even though you were technically taking a break, part of you still felt available. That's one reason rest can be so hard. Sometimes the problem isn't that you're bad at resting. Sometimes the problem is that nothing around your rest is protected. You stop working, but the demands are still close enough to reach you. When everything still has access to you, rest has to compete with all of it. It has to compete with notifications, unfinished tasks, other people's needs, the pressure to be useful, and the feeling that you should be doing more. Sometimes the next step is not trying harder to relax. Sometimes the next step is creating one small boundary that gives rest a little room to exist. A boundary doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a major life change. It doesn't have to mean disappointing everyone, ignoring your responsibilities, or becoming unavailable forever. A boundary can be much smaller than that. A boundary can be one clear line around your time, your attention, your energy, or your availability. It can be a small decision that says, for this little part of my day, I am not going to keep giving everything access to me. That might sound simple, but it can matter more than we think. A lot of exhaustion doesn't come just from what we're doing. It comes from the feeling that we are never fully off duty. Even when you're sitting down, part of you may still be listening for the next problem. Even when you're watching something on TV or YouTube, part of you may still be checking whether you forgot something. Even when you're lying in bed, part of you may still be planning tomorrow. That's why rest often needs protection. Not because you're weak, not because you can't handle life, but because your attention is valuable, and if you leave it completely unprotected, almost everything will try to take a piece of it. So instead of asking, how do I fix my whole life? It may help to ask something smaller. What is one thing that keeps interrupting my recovery? Maybe it's your phone. Maybe it's the habit of checking messages the second they come in, or answering work questions after hours. Maybe it's turning every quiet moment into planning time. Maybe it's saying yes before you've even had a chance to ask whether you have the energy. You don't have to fix all of those at once. In fact, trying to fix everything at once can become another kind of pressure. Just choose one place where rest keeps getting interrupted and start there. For example, one small boundary could be, for the next 20 minutes, my phone is going in another room. Not forever, not for the whole day, just long enough to let your mind stop half monitoring everything. Another small boundary could be, I am not making decisions from bed tonight. That means when your mind starts pulling up tomorrow's problems, you gently remind yourself, this is not the time for that. I can come back to it tomorrow. Another boundary could be, I'm not problem solving after 8 o'clock unless it's truly urgent. Not because the problems aren't real, but because you are real too. Your body needs some part of the day when it isn't being asked to keep producing answers. A boundary can also be emotional. It might sound like, I care about this, but I can't carry the whole thing right now. Or, I can listen, but I can't be the person who fixes this tonight. Or, I need a little time before I respond. Those are not selfish sentences. They are protective ones. That's important because many people think a boundary has to be harsh in order to count. But some of the most useful boundaries are quiet. They aren't announcements. They're small choices you repeat until your life has a little more space in it. Closing the laptop and not reopening it. Putting the phone across the room. Leaving one message unanswered until morning. Taking a walk without turning it into a planning session. Letting one evening be simple instead of productive. None of those choices may look huge from the outside, but inside, they can send your body a different message. They can say, you do not have to stay ready for everything right now. Sometimes that's what rest has been missing. Not more effort or more self-improvement, not a perfect routine, just one small protected space where the demands don't get to follow you all the way in. So if you're exhausted and rest has not been helping, try not to ask yourself for a complete life overhaul today. Ask for one boundary. One small place where you stop giving everything immediate access to you. One small moment where you are allowed to be unavailable. One small decision that makes recovery easier to reach. Maybe for tonight, the boundary is simply telling yourself, I'm allowed to come back to this tomorrow. Start with something small enough that you can actually follow through on. The goal is not to create a perfect boundary. The goal is to give yourself one real moment of protection. Rest doesn't always become possible because we finally earn it. Sometimes rest becomes possible because we finally protect it. Maybe the small boundary you choose today is not a wall between you and your life. Maybe it's a doorway back to yourself. If this helped you, consider watching Why Rest Feels Like Work When You're Trying to Recover here on the Resilience Project. And if you want more calm, practical reflections on stress, burnout, and recovery, subscribe for more from the Resilience Project. Mindset, renewal, resilience.